Welcome grade 12s. Today we're looking at the Learn Extra exam revision and we're looking at business ventures. Now this is a very exciting topic where we look at management, we looking at information, breaking things down. So let's have a look at what you need to know for business ventures. So the first thing you need to know, and you need to be able to distinguish between management and leadership styles. And remember, with management and leadership, just a quick thing, management or manager, you can study to be a manager, but leadership is innate. So management and leadership, but we're going to get into that a lot more detail with that. The next thing you need to know for this topic is how to accurately and concisely interpret verbal and non-verbal presentations in a variety of business-related information. And this could include graphs, how to respond professionally to questions, feedback, and amend information as necessary. So the second part here is how to interpret information. So it could be a graph, for example. It could be a table with different parts of information, and you need to be able to use that information to make decisions for your business, and in your case, decisions to help you pass your exam. And the next part, with explaining, you need to be able to explain concepts related to investments. Now these investments could be securities or insurance, and this section involves a bit of maths, so it's important that you, for your exam, A, have your calculator, and B, know how to do the different types of calculations. And the last thing for this section that you need to be able to do is to explain the different forms of ownership in detail. So that's what we'll be looking at today. Let's have a look at the first question. The first question, and this is quite a long question, but it's nice, it's a case study, and it's important for you to be able to take information from a case study. And a good exam tip from me is when you're doing these case studies, always make sure if the question asks you specifically about the case study, that you answer from the case study. Okay, so keeping that in mind, let's have a look. So read the following scenarios and decide how you, as a leader, would personally deal with them. Then in your answer, and I'm going to do this in red, in your answer, make reference to the leadership styles and theories you've learned about the topic. So what they want here is for you to give your opinion, but base it on facts that you've learned throughout the year. So let's have a look at the first scenario. The first scenario looks at the production department of a car manufacturing business consists of 35 employees. Now, a group of 8 employees, they're always late for work, and they are uncooperative. They waste time and don't finish their work on time. Now, other employees in the department have reported that they constantly complain about their conditions at work and about management. So the first scenario is basically about a small company, and 8 out of the 35 are unhappy, they're unproductive, uncooperative, and they sort of, and by speaking to other workers, they're trying to like rally them up to also be argumentative for argument's sake. So the question asked, according to the theories you've learned, how would you deal with this situation? So let's have a look. There's more than one right answer here, which is nice, but it's important that you be able to explain this. So according to this scenario, the first thing you could do is use autocratic leadership style. Now remember, autocratic leadership style is all about it's boss-centered, you don't ask questions, you do what needs to be done. And an important part of autocratic leadership or management is there are advantages and disadvantages. The advantage would be you can use this in crisis situations. So you need to get things done now, you get it done. Disadvantages, workers usually aren't too happy with you. And in this case, workers are already not happy. So, but let's have a look. So if you're an autocratic leader, and in this situation, it will work because you can set rules, give orders, and apply strict discipline to uncooperative employees. So in this situation, you could be an autocratic leader, just set down the rules and just try and get the company back on track. Another style you could have used in this situation would be transactional leadership. And what does this involve? So you can create and communicate clear structures, roles, and responsibilities to employees, as well as punishment for not following these rules. So what you're doing here is you're communicating what you want, and so I need you to work X amount of hours a day, this is what I need you to do by the end of the day, and if you don't, these are the consequences. And remember, so for example, when we look at punishment here, the punishment would be if you break the rules continuously, you would have get warnings, for example. So remember, there's a whole steps that go through that as well. So written warnings, verbal warnings, for example. So with transactional, it is, I'm giving you this, but these are the consequences. The last style that you could have used in this case would be the leader-follower theory. And with this grade 12s, you will focus on the interaction and relationship with uncooperative employees. So you'll look at what is happening, what are the unhappy employees compared to, let's say I'm the manager, and what is the relationship and how can we work to move forward in this case. So there were 3 options you could have used there. And what's important as well, grade 12s, some of these new leadership styles and management styles aren't necessarily in the previous papers. So it's important that you're aware of the new leadership styles that you need to know for this year. So not only what you can find in your, what you can find in previous papers, but you need to concentrate on the new things in your textbook as well. The next scenario we're going to be looking at is scenario 2. And this is your business has won a tender to produce a large number of vehicles for the police force. Now, while there is a lot of money to be made from the tender, it will mean that the employees will have to work overtime in order to meet the requirements of the contract to meet the deadline. So in this scenario, your company has received a tender, you will have to have your employees work overtime, and remember that will be a financial implication, and also basic conditions of employment we can throw in here, because how many hours of overtime do they have to work, or can they work, and how much do you have to pay them? So you keep that in mind. So what are the styles that you can use for this scenario? You can use, the first one would be democratic or participative leadership style. And what would happen here? So you can get input from your employees and encourage group involvement to find ways to meet the demands of the contract. So pulling your employees in, asking their opinion, how do we move forward? What are your ideas? Now, employees will be more motivated and productive because they took part in the decision making. So basically, as a manager, you're getting their input, so you're getting their buy-in to go with what you actually want. But the employees feel that they've had an input, and they will work because they feel that they've had their say really. The next leadership or management style would be transitional or transformational approach. Now, managers shows passion and enthusiasm. Now, this will inspire employees with a shared vision and motivate them to do more than they usually would, or thought they could do. So this is with transformational leadership, you inspire people. There's a lot of examples. An example that they often use for transformational would be Desmond Tutu, where this man inspires people to do things through what he does, and people want to follow him. So that's one way of looking at it. The third approach that you could use would be transactional approach again. Now, managers enters into a contract with employees where they will get paid better for their work, efforts, and obedience. Now, the aim is to get the work done. So where the first one was about let's get their buy-in with the democratic style, where we want to get employees to buy into the idea and sort of get them happening because they're happy to be part of it because they made choices. The second one is about I'm going to inspire you to work harder. The third one really is more about telling people, literally, if you do this, you'll get paid better, and I want to get the job done. So this is what I want, and this is what I'll give. So that's the third approach you could have had there. The third scenario for this question, let's have a look at this one. So what it says, your business has to implement new technology in the production process to be able to compete with other car manufacturers and to keep its share of the market. Now, this will result in major changes in the workplace, and one of them being the retaining of workers. Now, many workers are unhappy and unsure about the changes at work. This scenario, there's a lot happening here, so it's important to break it down and to have a look at exactly what's happening here. So, firstly, there are major changes happening. The company wants to expand, but this will result in major changes. Now, people often don't like change, so it's important as a leader that you have this change period as comfortable as possible for your workers to keep them productive. So let's have a look at the suggested management or leadership styles. Yeah. So the first one they've got here is Transitional and Transformational Approach. And this one has popped up a few times. And this is, it's a nice management or leadership approach, as it gets people, they feel that each party feels that they've got their worth, if that makes sense. So managers shows passion and enthusiasm and inspires employees with a shared vision of improving the business and motivates them to do more than they usually would. And that lets them see the importance of training and bettering themselves. So this is having, again, it's I win, you win kind of situation. The second one here would be the situational approach. Now with the situational approach, managers will use autocratic style with decisions to implement new technology, but then uses more democratic style in deciding how the training should take place. So with situational, you're going to use not just one approach, but two, and it also depends on the situation. So in this situation, you're going to go with autocratic to get what you need done first. And then when it gets to deciding how the training should take place, you're going to go for a more democratic style, which will again, in two different ways, get two different reactions. So that was question one, looking at leadership and management. It was a nice meaty question where you had to apply what you know about management and leadership. So again, very important, guys, you need to be able to remember the difference between leadership and management, but as well as how these two connect, how are they related. The next question we're going to be looking at is looking at how to interpret information. Now, interpreting information, like I said earlier, it could be a graph, it could be a table, and they often ask you easy questions, yeah, but you need to be able to interpret these questions, and they'll only be easy if you can interpret them. So it's important to have a look carefully at the question. So let's carefully look at this question, question 2. So the graph below represents the sales or the sale volume of cakes at Stranger Manor School during the 4 school terms of 2011. So let's have a look at it. So it's a chart that is basically showing us cake sales and the different terms with the sales percentages in it. And off the bat, as you can see, I looked at this and I was like, okay, well, this is it's a chart. What is it representing? What are the different parts in there? So before I even look at the question, I try and analyze what I'm seeing there. And that's important, and that's something you should also be doing at home and when you're doing those papers. So question 2.1. So identify the graph illustrated above. Now, remember earlier when I said you sometimes get really easy questions with these sections, and these are one of these easy questions where you literally just have to identify it. So in this case, if we look at it, we know that this chart or this graph is a pie graph or a pie chart. What they often do is they could also give you different types. So there could be a bar graph or a histogram, and they'd also give you information, but you need to know the difference, obviously, between the different types of graphs. So the first question, 2 marks, easy, it's a pie graph. Let's have a look at the second question. Now the second question says, or asks us, which school term recorded the highest percentage of sales? And then justify your answer by showing all your calculations. So let's go look at this and what they're showing us. So in term 1, they had the cake sales was 27%. Term 2, cake sales went slightly down to 20%. And term 3, we don't know. In term 4, it dropped all the way down to 12%. So having looked at that, let's have a look at the question. And it says justify, so which term recorded the highest percentage of sales? So even just looking at it, grade 12s, you can see off the bat that term 3 had the highest. So now all we have to do is go and calculate this, and it's a nice easy calculation to do. So what they've done here is you take term 1, which was the 27%, plus term 2, which was the 20%, term 3, which I've labeled as X because it's an unknown, and term 4, which is 12%, should equal to 100. So, easy way to do this, you're going to add term 1, term 2, and term 4. So adding those 3 will give you 59%. then we know a pie chart is out of 100, and this, again, this is sort of general knowledge that you need to know and walk into the exam with your maths knowledge as is. So you're going to go 100% minus the 59%, which was term 1, plus term 2, and term 3. After you've done the calculation, you'll see that it is 41%. So looking at the question, they are asking you to justify your answer. And by doing the calculation, you're justifying your answer. So your answer, which is 41, and you will get your marks for it, or you will just get your marks for just saying 41 without going through all the maths. But what's important here, and this is a big exam tip, grade 12s, if they ask you to justify a calculation, do the entire calculation, because even if you make a mistake somewhere, you might get a method mark out of it somewhere. So that was question 2.2. Let's have a look at 2.3. Now 2.3 is asking us, recommend 2 practical strategies that Stranger Manor School can use to improve their poor sales performance in term 4. Remember, term 4, the sales performance went all the way down to 12%. And now this could be for a number of reasons. If you think about it logically, term 4 is a very short term. People might be saving up money to go on holiday, and people are just generally, they're not inclined to spend as much because it's such a short period, and for whatever reason they had at that school. So what are the practical strategies that the school can use to improve this? So the first thing they can do is intensify marketing efforts, so advertising, reviewing pricing structures, etc. So the first recommendation would be literally intensify, so making people aware that there are cakes. So by term 4, maybe they've gotten used to it, they forgot about it. So it's just reminding people in the school that there are cakes to buy. The next, offer seasonal specials. So example, buy 1 cake and get 1 free. And this is a strategy often used by businesses to draw people in, because you think it's a good deal. If I buy 1 cake, I'll get 1 free. And people tend to buy more because they feel they're getting more for their money. And the last strategy would be diversification of products. And this is going a little bit outside the comfort zone of just the cake. So what diversification would include, it would include cakes, but let's say instead of just selling cakes, you're selling cupcakes as well. And that's diversifying what you've already got and drawing in people to buy your product because they're there already and they'd like to see and they'll tend to buy more. So that's the end of question 2, where we looked at interpreting information. And again, grade 12, remember, it won't always be a pie chart. It could be any type of information, and you need to draw information from there. Let's have a quick break. Welcome back, grade 12. So we've done question 1 and 2, where we looked at leadership and management, and then we looked at interpreting information. Now, the third question I have for you today is looking at how to break down information from the different forms of ownership. And the question I have for you, it asks, so question 3, briefly explain how the following factors can contribute to the success and failure of a sole proprietor or a sole trader. And that's very important. At this stage, grade 12s, you need to be able to take any form of ownership, be it sole trader all the way down to, let's say, a public company, and be able to identify key issues like their general traits, but also what's involved with management, what's involved with capital, and all those taxation even, and be able to answer questions like that. So this first question, they're asking us, what would be the success or failure of a sole trader based on management? So before I even open this question, think about this. What are sole traders? They are people, one person that owns a business. So management, the sole trader would be the actual manager of the company by default because they're a sole trader. So a lot will depend on the actual individual, how they and their management style, and how it will affect the success or failure. So the first part here, let's have a look at the management. That was the first part of the question. So management, what will add to the success of a sole trader? Now, firstly, so owners are responsible for the management of the business. So the success of a business literally falls on the shoulders of the sole trader through their management style. So are they autocratic? Are they participative? Are they transformational? what leadership style do they use with their workers to get the best out of them. The next success part would be quick management decisions with regard to profitable opportunities can be taken. So the success through being the manager would be you can make quick business decisions. So if an opportunity arises, you don't have to discuss it with several other people. You can go yes or no and go forward with it. So this would definitely help in the advantage that you're not wasting time for possible good opportunities. The next success factor would be the owner becomes an expert in all the business functions, which leads to a greater success for the business. So the manager basically becomes an expert in, if you think about the 8 business functions, so going from operations to finance to purchasing, and the manager is really involved because the manager is the sole trader and it's his business. So there's a lot of involvement, a lot of personal investment, which will help with the success of a sole trader. On the other hand, there would be failure. So what would lead to the failure of a sole trader and their management? So the first one would be there could be a lack of business management skills, and the knowledge can lead to a business's failure. So as much as an entrepreneur, well, as a sole trader can become an expert in all of these fields, they can also, it's just human nature, you can't be good at everything all the time. And if one person is trying to do everything and they're not doing a good job at it to start with, it will lead to the failure of a business if all the things aren't covered properly. Another factor that could lead to the failure could be poor decision making by the owner can lead to a business failure. So again, in contrast, the advantage is you can make quick business decisions. The disadvantage is you can also make poor decisions, which will seriously affect your business and its success. Another failure or cause for failure would be incompetent owners of a business may require the services of consultants, which may increase business expenses. So, carrying on from what I said earlier, you can't necessarily do everything all the time, and hiring an expert or a consultant to do those certain business functions for you will increase your costs because you're obviously paying an outside person to do the job. But again, it could be a good or a bad thing, because if you're not going to do it right, it probably makes more sense getting somebody to do it for you. So that was 3.1 management. To have a look at the next section here, we're looking at capital. Remember grade 12, so we're looking at capital, we're looking at the success and failure of a sole trader based on these 2 topics. So with capital, what would lead to the success? So the first point here for the success is the owner contributes capital and has full control over the utilization for the success of the business. So the first part, for the success of the business, the owner gives the capital. The owner gets to, because they gave the capital, they get to make the choices, and they can really attempt to make good choices for the success of the business. And remember, if you give all the capital, you have all the say. And that's one of the advantages in general of a sole trader. The next advantage with the capital, the sound credit record of the owner can afford him or her opportunities to get financial assistance for the expansion of the business. Now, keeping in mind we're a sole trader, so if a sole trader needs to get extra credit or money from the bank, they'll have to do it in their personal capacity. So if the sole trader or the owner has a good credit record, they'll be able to get a good loan, for example. So it depends on how successful the entrepreneur or the owner or the sole trader is in his personal life to a large extent, and this will affect the business. What could lead to the failure in regard to capital would be, first off, so the capital is limited to what the owner contributes or borrows, which may not be enough to run the business. So if you are a sole trader, you want to start a business, you don't necessarily have enough capital, let's say, and you don't have enough, let's say you don't have a good credit record, you're limited in how big you can make your business and how much you can put into your business through your own capacity. So that would definitely lead to the failure of a business if you don't have enough to start with even before you begin. And the next failure, which could lead to failure, would be limited capital contributed by the owner can hamper the business's growth and expansion. So following on to the previous point, so if you want to, let's say, expand your business, you you won't necessarily be able to do so if your business isn't doing well and you personally don't have a good credit record. So those are all parts or things that will lead to the failure. So grade 12s, over and above the management and the capital, remember there are other issues that you need to be able to explain in detail, which would be taxation, for example, and how that affects each form of ownership. Good. So I hope that was a nice, easy question. Let's have a look at the next question, question 4. So question 4, we're moving into investments now, which is, this section is quite a large section, grade 12s. I've chosen one calculation, but there are several different calculations that you should be able to do with investments and insurance and this entire section. So it's important, again, to have your calculator to be familiar with the different formulas and what to calculate, when to calculate it. So let's have a look at this question. So first question, or the statement. So Anele invested 5,000 Rand for 3 years at 10% interest per year. Well, this is compounded annually with Capital Bank. Now it says show all your calculations. So off the bat, we know this is a compound interest calculation. They're telling you it's compound interest, and again, at this stage, you guys should all be able to do compound and simple interest. So let's have a look. So calculate the amount Anele will receive after 3 years. Important. So this can be done a number of different ways. The way I prefer to do this is with a simple formula, and it's a formula that you all should be reasonably familiar with. So let's have a look. So P, and before we carry on, and I don't want to just assume you guys all remember everything, so let's do that in there. So P is the principal amount. So that's the initial amount invested. Then you get to I, and I is the interest. And N would be the number of years. So if you want to do this calculation, A, you should know what all these things stand for, and that you can identify them. So let's just go back to the statement. So we know that we have the 5,000, we know it's for 3 years, and we know it's 10%. So we've got all the checked, we can check the boxes, we know it's there. So let's have a look at this calculation. So it'll be the 5,000, and I'm not going to do this on a calculator, but because the answer is ready for you guys. But as you can see, stick it in your calculator. It's a simple, easy, nice 4 marks, basically for free if you can do compound interest calculations. And your answer is 6,655. So that is to answer question 4.1. How much will Anele receive after 3 years of investing? So let's have a look. 4.2. Calculate the amount of interest that Anele will earn. Now it's easy to confuse question 4.1 and 4.2. So 4.2 is asking you how much is, calculate the amount Anele will receive after 3 years. So how much is Anele getting after 3 years? Question 4.2 is asking you calculate the amount of interest that Anele will earn. So let's have a look and I'll explain it. So what you need to do is you take the 6,655, which we calculated from the previous question, and you subtract it from the principal amount or the initial amount. So when you subtract the two, you'll see that your answer is 1,655. So again, nice, easy, I think easy 4 marks, and easy 4 marks do a lot to help you with the exams. So the difference again, guys, calculate the amount of interest that Anele will earn, okay, compared to how much will he get out after 3 years. And the last question with this question 4.3, it's asking you, suggest 2 other types of investments Anele could have used. So instead of putting the money in the bank and receiving interest through the normal compound interest way, which other ways could Anele have used to earn money on that 5,000 Rand or that 5,000 Rand initial investment? So what I have here for you is Anele could have got unit trusts, And with this section, grade 12s, before I even go any further, you need to know all the different types of investments and what is involved there. You don't have to go into too much detail on the taxation of each section, but you do need to know what they consist of. So, back to the question, what other options did Anele have? Unit trusts, an offshore investment. Anele could have got shares. They could have got a different type of deposit account. They could have gone with a stock file, retail bonds, could have invested the money in a business, could have got debentures, and he could have gone along the route of a savings account or a money market account. Now, the question only asks for 2 examples, and again, let's look at the action or the verbs, the words you need to keep in mind when they ask you exam questions. So it says, suggest 2 other types of investments. So they're not asking you to describe it, they're not asking you to go into detail, they're simply asking you to, this is just another way of saying, list your answer. So that's one of my exam tips. Listen to or read the sentence carefully to make sure that you're writing down what you need to write down. So with question 4 behind us, let's have a quick break and then we'll get into an essay. Welcome back. So we're going to do question 5 now, and question 5, essay question. So before I even get into the essay grade 12s, I've given you exam tips on how to write essays in the last section, the last time you saw me. And again, I can't tell you enough, make sure you've got 30 minutes. And something else quick trick that I want to show you that I use when I want to calculate how much to write. So, okay, well, let's read the question and then I'll show you the trick on how to work this out. So, question 5, it says, good management and good leadership will influence businesses and organizations to become more successful and to be able to achieve their goals and objectives favorably. So that's the statement. Let's have a look at the question. So the question is asking us, analyze the above statement, so analyze the above statement, and then evaluate autocratic, laissez-faire, and charismatic leadership styles. So off the bat, we know they're asking us about three styles of leadership. Next, they're asking us, or they're telling us, use examples to explain how these styles could be successfully applied in the workplace. So let's have a look at this, and then I might jump back and forth just once to show you the trick to how this is done. So we know it's 3 parts, and they want examples of how this should happen. So let's have a look at the first part of this. So the introduction. So introduction, we know you can write about things in generally and quite broadly. So they've asked you about 3 forms of 3 management styles. So you can mention the other management styles that they've left out. And that's a nice extra point to throw in there or to use. So let's have a look. The first part here, good leaders have to apply specific management and leadership styles to a particular situation. So what they're saying is a good leader, it depends on the situation, your reaction should depend on the situation, and it shouldn't just be a set, okay, I'm autocratic and this is the way I'm going to work. Okay. The next part to the introduction. Now it depends on the type of worker and employee the leader deals with. So what they're saying is not only is it difficult to just stick to one leadership style, you should also look at the type of workers and the culture, personality, all of those different things that influence how there's almost like a business organization's culture. So a nice example would be if you've ever changed schools, like the way the one school almost felt different to the other school because they had a different culture, different organization, and that's what they're saying. So it depends on your workers, and you should sort of be flexible with what you're doing there. And another one they have here, highly skilled and unskilled workers require different management and leadership styles. So that's just following on to the previous statement where you need to be flexible to be a good leader. So let's have a look. So analysis of the statement. So remember, your introduction is just a general thing. We are now going to go down to the nitty-gritty of this. So I want to go back and just quickly remind you what this is. So analyze the above statement. So do you agree or disagree? That's the first part. So analyze the above statement and then evaluate the 3. So the first part here, so option 1, you can agree with a statement. So you can say yes or no, but you have to motivate. Remember, that's very important. So what is the motivation? The one they've got here, if you agree with the statement, so leaders give direction to the business. So for a successful business, you need good leaders to make the business strive. Next, good leaders help businesses to work towards achievement of business goals and objectives. So remember, if we go right back to the beginning, if we look at the micro, market, macro, if you look at the micro environment where a business sets its mission and vision statements and all those basics of a business, a good leader will take the vision and mission of the business and work towards meeting those goals set out. Next, leaders make decisions which help the business to grow and expand. And you'll see here, this was for 2 marks. So you got 2 marks for agreeing or disagreeing, which we'll get to. But so that's 4 marks already out of that by just saying yes or no and why. If you disagreed with a statement, okay, still 2 marks, but you have to motivate why do you disagree with it. So the reasons they've got here. So businesses could be well established. There could also be no competition, which makes it easier. Products could be in high demand, so it's just easy for people to get hold of the products. Businesses could have strong brand loyalty. So you know what it's like. You've got your favorite pair of shoes or your shirt and it's a certain brand, and you know if something had to happen, you're going to buy the exact same brand because you like that product, you like that brand, and that's what the loyalty is about. Next, there could be a strong financial situation already in place and well-informed target market. So people will make decisions for themselves, as well as if you've got a good marketing system, you will target the market or the people that want to buy a product and sell them that idea. So the next part, guys, so grade 12s, we've had the agree, disagree, plus the statement. So up to now, you've already got 4 marks for just saying yes or no and why. The next part of the question, so let's have a quick look at the question again. They're asking you to evaluate autocratic, laissez-faire, and charismatic. So this will be the next section where we break these down and we look at them. So the first part here, so the evaluation of leadership and management styles. So when they say evaluate, what they're asking you to do is tell us about us. What do you understand autocratic leadership is? So first off, autocratic leadership is also called boss-centered or authoritarian leadership, as well as, so it's autocratic, boss-centered, and authoritarian. So you need to know all 3 of these, so they all mean the same thing, but you need to know the different names for the same thing. So first off, an autocratic leader makes all the decisions alone. So no matter what the situation is, that leader will say, this is what we're doing because I say so. Okay. The next part of autocratic leadership is the leader has little or no consideration for the needs of their subordinates. So these types of leaders disregard their workers in the sense that if their workers have certain feelings or needs, and it doesn't fall in line with the autocratic manager, that simply gets disregarded. And you can imagine how that will have a negative effect on employee morale, purely based on the fact that if nobody listens to me, it'll create a situation that might not be great. Next, subordinates are told what to do and how to do it without being given the opportunity to make input or suggestions. So again, just do as I tell you kind of thing. Next, the leader gives instructions as a way of communicating with subordinates. So it's not about, okay, so this is what I'm thinking, let's try and do this. It's a case of, this is what we're doing, done. Okay, and again, do you see how this is actually quite an aggressive approach? And it's quite useful in crisis situations. Another part to this, now if it is used when the manager has all the information to solve the problem, so it is used when the manager has all the information. So Often autocratic leaders can only do this because they keep information and withhold information so that subordinates aren't in the loop, and that gives them more power. Next, the leadership style, if not used correctly, may lead to crisis situations within the organization. So as much as I say this leads well to crisis situations, so let's say like floods, fires, those kinds of things, if people do not listen to their workers, for example, workers could become resentful, and this could lead to other situations like not being productive, strikes, all of those kinds of things. Now lastly, the leader must use this style carefully because it may be demotivating the subordinates. So lots of points there. Remember, they asked us to evaluate the type of leadership. So do you see we've actually just listed all the characteristics of autocratic leadership. The next part here, remember they asked you to, let's go back to the original question. They asked us to give the evaluation, and then also asked to give examples to explain this. So when you're doing your essay grade 12s, don't forget to go back and just make sure that you're ticking all the boxes. And by the boxes, I mean answering all the questions. So we've said what autocratic is about. Let's have a look at the application. So when dealing with uncooperative employees in the workplace, so that is when you'll use autocratic style, when people aren't cooperating, when things aren't working smoothly, and it's at the end of the day affecting the business. Next, when implementing policies of the organization. So when implementing a policy, it's not about anything else except that this is the business policy and this is what needs to be done. It's not really a discussion situation, and that's where autocratic will be effective. So that's a good example. Next, during a crisis situation in the workplace. And lastly, implementing government legislation. Remember, government legislation, which is something we've done before, it's the law. You cannot discuss whether you want to follow employment equity. You have to follow it. So autocratic would be very useful there, where this is not a discussion situation. This is something we have to do. Let's look at the next one. Laissez-Faire or free rein leadership. And, well, let's have a look at this. This is a lot more relaxed than autocratic, and this is also better suited for different situations. So the leader is not part of the decision-making process, but allows employees to make all the decisions within the framework or limits of the policy. So this is, with free rein leadership or laissez-faire leadership, it's about giving the power. It's about not even sharing like power and authority. It's about giving it over almost. And again, advantages, disadvantages. Let's have a next look. Let's have a look at the next one. The leader gets involved when requested. So this is an absent leader in the sense that only if they are required do they jump in, or unless they are asked, and if they're not asked, they don't get involved. Next, the leader is responsible and accountable for the employees' decisions and actions. So although they've given over their authority, that leader is still responsible for what the group does. Next, employees are left on their own with minimal interference. So employees are left to do what they need to do. This works often very well when people are doing research projects, and where there aren't very like hectic, let's say like time frames. And the last part to this, now this may lead to frustration on the part of employees when they lack experience or have not earned the trust of the leader. So this will make sense if you're working in a company and you've got a laissez-faire style boss, and this person is just not there often enough, or that they're not there to support your decisions, it will lead to frustration. And if you're not experienced, you already feel insecure, and this will just add on to it. What are the applications or the examples, remember? Now, this leadership style can be used when the leader is empowering his or her employees through delegation of duties. So you're trying to boost your workers' morale through giving them power almost. Next, it's useful when employees are knowledgeable and experienced. So again, this will only make sense if you're, not only make sense, but it'll be easier if you already know how the system works. Where, imagine you got to the first day of high school 5 years ago, and they just said, okay, well, cheers, good luck. You would have not been happy because you didn't know how it worked. And that's how laissez-faire often becomes negative, because people don't know how it works or how the system works. And the last one, it works well in situations where employees are highly skilled in analyzing situations and offering solutions. So employees that are really self-sufficient as such. And the last one we have here is charismatic leadership or management style. So the third one here they asked us to have a look at is charismatic leadership style. So this is useful when personal charm, inspiration, and emotion rather than power and authority are used to influence or lead subordinates. So this focuses on charm and inspiration. Okay, instead of like that very aggressive form of, let's say, authoritarian, for example, or democratic, where things are all, it's a lot more input from workers. The second point here, the leader serves as a role model and subordinates follow him or her. So people want to follow this person because they look up to this person. This person inspires them to do well because that's just who they are. And we all know somebody in life where we really like them and we want to follow them and do what they want to do, what they do, because we think it's a good idea through what they're doing. And that's very much what this leadership style is about. Next, the leader has a vision and is able to communicate well with others. So there's good interpersonal communication. Next, subordinates are praised even for little success achieved. So with little success achieved, it's a small task, but they did it well, and they're being rewarded for it almost through praise. Next, the leader has good values and directs the company to great success. So again, leaning on the personal. Now, this is commonly used by politicians, religious leaders, and business teams. So this point is about, it's good to know that who uses them in which situation. Next, charismatic leaders are intolerant of challenges and they regard themselves as irreplaceable. So this would be basically, I would say, a disadvantage of charismatic leadership, where people feel that they are not replaceable. Now, an example of this, and remember, this is the application here, the marks here. What is an example of this? It is applied when management has identified low morale amongst its employees. So when you can see your employees or your workers aren't happy, to bring a person in like this to just boost the way they feel. Next, the leadership style can be applied to motivate and inspire subordinates, and it is suitable when an organization is undergoing changes. So again, people don't like changes. So as a company or a business, you can go two approaches. You could go the autocratic, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, or you could go the charismatic leadership style and inspire people to buy into the change. Okay, remember that very first question we did? Again, so there isn't necessarily a right or a wrong answer. It depends on the situation and the worker. Now, the last part of this grade 12s would be the conclusion. So let's have a look at what they've got here with the conclusion. So different leadership or management styles are influenced by the nature of the organization and expertise of the employees. So again, it needs to be flexible for you need to be flexible as a good leader, and being flexible would be taking into consideration the organization, the workers, the situations. The next one, the personality of the leader plays an important part in the type of leadership style to be used. So if you are by nature quite this is how I like things to be kind of person, you'll automatically lean towards being an autocratic leader. And so it carries on. So your personality will affect your leadership style. Grade 12s, today we've looked at lots of different aspects. We looked at leadership and management. We've looked at how to do calculations, forms of ownership, and there's lots of information. The most important part here is when you're studying, keep calm, take breaks, and just make sure that you know what you're doing and that you're comfortable with that. Thank you.